Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September edition of the Leading Female Executive Panel discussion here on LinkedIn Live. It's wonderful to see you all. It's been a hot minute since we last connected in this format. We're excited to bring it back in September. Hello to those in the comments already. It's great to see you. Now, before we continue with business, of course, here in the UK, we had the very sad news last week of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II passing away. I met with the team to see whether this panel should be going ahead, and we decided that we would follow the protocol of the royal family and decide to continue business as usual and embody the spirit of Her Majesty. Our thoughts and condolences, of course, go out to the family and all of those who are experiencing the grief, as we all are, with her loss. And to do that, we thought we'd honour her by having a really fantastic conversation with brilliant female leaders. So I just wanted to say that piece before we get started here today. Now, the conversation we're having today is all about data usability success. In lots of conversations I'm having at the moment, it's about making data useful, making it valuable, and that's the conversation we're going to be having. So I am going to be bringing to the stage some fantastic leaders. So please do in the comments join me in welcoming them. Hello, everyone. It is great to see you. So many. Oh my goodness, having to continue to scroll down. We're not there yet. Now my computer's going to freeze. No, let's keep going. It's overwhelmed. There we are. Welcome everyone to the stage. So great to see you. Due to the sheer number of you who have joined in, clearly this is a hot topic. I'm not going to ask you to introduce yourselves first. What I'm going to ask is the first question, which is what is your big data usability challenge at the moment? And at the first point of that question, if you wouldn't mind dropping an intro and then going into your answer, I think that will save us some time and get us straight into that content. Wendy, welcome to the stage. If you wouldn't mind giving us an intro, please.
Sure. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm Wendy Gilbert. I'm the Deputy Director of Enterprise Business Intelligence at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Seattle. And I would say our biggest usability challenge right now, at least for my team specifically, is around adoption. We've built quite a few new BI products that are really great and really useful, but it's hard when someone's busy with their day job trying to get their job done to be able to have the time to look at these new BI products. And while they may be better, finding the time to adopt them is challenging. So that's one of our biggest challenges. And then just really quickly, as far as how we're addressing that, is a lot of change management and planning and doing everything we can to make it easy for adoption and to advertise the bells and whistles of the new products and what we're delivering.
Amazing. Thank you, Wendy. I'm going to scribble these answers down as well, because I'm obviously going to want to dive a bit deeper into them. I'm sure some themes will be emerging. But Wendy, thank you for kicking us off. Morgan, great to see you. If you wouldn't mind giving us an intro and then your biggest data usability challenge that you see in the market at the moment.
Hi, I'm Morgan Templar, and I am previously from Highmark Health, currently in my own company called Get Governed, and I do data governance consulting. The biggest challenge that I've seen with big data really is metadata, getting the right metadata captured so that it is usable. Some of the big data tools have native tools that hold their own metadata, and it's difficult to mine it out of there and put it into an enterprise system. And when we don't have consistent metadata, it's challenging for people to create a data marketplace, which is really the absolute goal of having the big data gather together anyway. So that's probably our biggest challenge.
Thank you, Morgan. Cool. Let's keep going. Kulani, welcome to the stage as always. And a big shout out as well to Kulani, who was named the Business of Data September Monthly Leader of the Month. So congratulations to you, Kulani. And dive right in. Tell us a bit about you and your biggest challenge at the moment.
Thank you so much. So good evening from South Africa. I'm Kulani Likotsi. I head up data management and a data governance team from Standard Bank. And what I've seen in the industry is that most corporates were coming up with data strategy, and the gap that I tend to see for most, and some of the questions that have been asked, it's the how. How do we implement the data strategy? Who will implement this data strategy? So appointing those data champions within business, it's them now starting to put their hand up and saying, unwilling to acquire a new skill. But at the same time, these are individuals that have valuable business insights. And it's then saying, how do we marry someone that has business insights but want to venture up into the data and analytics space? So that data championship, while this becomes our culture shifters within the data space.
Amazing, thank you, Kulani. I can see a bit of a trend emerging here already. Thank you, Kulani, and hello to Murendeni, Victoria, and Jean joining us in the comments. And why not join in this question as well? What is your big challenge when it comes to data usability, making data useful? What is going on in your organisations at the moment? Please do join us in the comments with your answers there as well. Nirali, welcome to the stage. Intro and answer to that one, please.
Hi, so I'm Nirali Patel, and nice to be here. So good evening from the UK. Today I work for Openreach, so I'm their Director of Data Analytics and Insight. And our biggest sort of data usability challenge is around deploying the data products and the AI products into a large operational organization without losing the value of those products, but also then linking the changing in the business process. So, it's a bit along the themes everyone else has done around adoption and stuff, but it's how do you change your business process to reflect the new models or the new, AI and robotics, and still keep that value that they're set up to do for you.
Amazing, thank you, Nirali. Minna, same to you, please. Intro and then data usability.
Thank you. My name is Minna. I'm a data strategy consultant at Solita, working from Finland. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, all. From my point of view, one of the biggest challenges what comes to data usability at the moment is related to what some of the other ladies already mentioned, to really how to really pick the right data development opportunities from all those opportunities that are out there, to really focus the work and effort on getting value for business and users. And I also see emerging amount of businesses actually, or the business people actually being more interested also in understanding better what data could provide for them. So maybe the discussion is more moving from IT centric towards business as well.
I like that, moving from IT centric to business. Great soundbite there, Minna. Thank you. Maritza, give us an intro and then making data usable, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Maritza. I am the head of data at BNP Paribas Personal Finance South Africa. We're also known as RCS Group. So when it comes to the usability of data, problem, I would say a challenge that I've been struggling with probably my entire data and analytics career, and it feels like it's just becoming more and more of a problem as our environments become more complex, is actually simplifying. And every company that I've worked for in my career has hundreds of actively used reports. And for a business user, it's really hard to find an answer to a question if you have to trawl through hundreds of reports. So what happens is users end up with 4 or 5 reports that they use on repeat. And the problem actually perpetuates when you roll out self-service BI, because now you have power users in the business starting to create their own data product. So you just end up with this absolute spaghetti of reports and BI applications. And there's definitely some meatballs in between, but I think the challenge is finding the meatballs and making sure that everyone can have access to those.
I love that, Maritza. And one of the best things that I love about doing things live, one is being able to take audience questions, but 2, what happened there as you were talking was a flurry of reactions there from our audience. So clearly that's something that's being held within this panel with the nods of agreement, but then also with the audience there. So thank you for reacting, and do keep those coming in. And Hello to Lazola, Esther and Hilkani, who is joining us as well today. Brilliant to have you. Now, the last introduction is with a wonderful thought leader, Inez, who I had the pleasure of meeting for the very first time last week at Chief Data Analytics Officers UK. We got chatting and I ended up roping her into a last minute panel, which is of this. So Inez, thank you for joining us so last minute. It's great to have you on board. And if you wouldn't mind giving us an introduction and then what's going on for you with data usability.
Yeah, great. Hi, my name is Inez Ashton. I work for Mars and I'm a director of advanced analytics. I love hearing all your pain points because we're absolutely feeling it as well. For us, like Maritza said, actually, we've done a lot of proof of concepts. We've done a lot of reports, but Mars is obviously has multiple divisions. So we've got the pet care side, we've got the chocolate side, we've got the food side, we've got the veterinary side. So actually consolidating and having even a single version of the truth and being able to compare likes for likes on the key KPIs has proven more difficult, because when we scale analytics solutions from one region to another, the local markets always point out, oh, we do something slightly different and this is not how we calculate and stuff like that. And it's just trying to get them all on the same page so that the senior leadership has, apples for apples comparison and can genuinely know which segment or region needs that support. So that's been a big issue for us.
Amazing. Brilliant. I don't think I've missed anyone out. It's such a big panel today. I love it. And lots of diverse challenges there. But I think really it all comes down, I've circled in my notepad here, is the kind of the doing part, right? I think we've discussed extensively on this panel and other forms of content, kind of building up to that part, getting the strategy ready, making sure that we've found the right approach for us, but then it's then carrying that into the business and actually getting it off the ground. So I want to pick your brains of where you are currently in that process of fighting the doing. I know several members on this panel will have been adopting data literacy programs to really get the business bought in. I particularly like the point earlier about the fact that the business do have their day jobs and you're battling with that and trying to get people bought into doing it potentially a little bit extra for the short term until it becomes intrinsic part of their infrastructure to the point where it's kind of not noticed anymore, right? So let's have a bit of a chat around there. What are you doing in your organization, or what are you seeing the market do to respond to this big challenge of adoption? Maritza, I'll come to you first on that one.
Okay, so I'm going to add on to what I said around trying to simplify very complex reporting and BI environments. The one thing that I think we need to do, especially if you have an organization where you have hundreds of active reports, you've rolled out self-service BI, is to establish an information design board or forum. And this is not just for your BI or your data team, it's also for your power users in the business. And one of the governance frameworks that you need to use in this forum is an information design framework. And that's really based on your business and your subject areas or your phases in your business value chain. And to be honest, no organization should have more BI applications than what you have departments in your organization, especially, if you look at the tools that we can use nowadays, like ClickSense and Tableau and Power BI. You can combine 20 reports into a single interactive BI application. And I think that should be the focus and that should be the drive, to try and migrate those many, many reports that you have and just simplify it into a handful of BI applications that's easy for your BI audience to access and use.
I think that's such a great idea as well, and the fact that there's far more tools and solutions available now to us that actually make these things a bit more visually pleasing as well. I think gone are the days of those archaic reports, and actually as people become more used to them, I think the demand will be just kind of there. It was a case of the expectation is that it is in a dashboard that's easy to navigate and that you can ask questions to it and it becomes interactive, and as you say, you can filter it appropriately and you can get the information out that you want as well. Fantastic. Wendy, how about yourself? When it comes to that adoption piece, doing the doing, what are you up to?
Yeah, so I mentioned I jumped the gun and got into this a little bit earlier, but part of what we've been focusing on is similar to what Maritza was mentioning on the simplifying, centralizing, standardizing to some extent. And that's when it comes to more of our standard business intelligence. I've used a phrase here in this session, I think before, the discipline at the core and freedom around the edges. And it's something where that helps us focus of how do we make it as simple and usable as possible for those cases where we can, and then just make it as self-service as possible in those cases where that's the best solution for the end user. Because we have, when we talk about usability, there's so many different ways to take that, and that one user may be specific for a reporting, for example, and then you may have usability where you have data scientists that just need access to the raw data. I think most of what we've talked about today is more on that BI solution or the reporting solution, but of course, I think we're all across lots of different areas. But yeah, discipline at the core, freedom around the edges, trying to, and sorry, one last thing, product ownership and business ownership, I think, is so important for usability, that you have that voice of the customer embedded with your teams as you're building products.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love that. I love that soundbite. And I know you said it in previous content as well. It's definitely one of those things that if I ever need a side hustle, I'm just going to print data t-shirts. And I think it's such a good one for that, for sure. Thank you, Wendy. And how about yourself when it comes to dealing with the challenge of adoption? And as you were mentioning there, getting apples for apples in your wider kind of global business, how are you approaching that in reality?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. So within Mars, I specifically focus in transforming the supply chain space. And if anybody has been involved with supply chain, they are they're quite old school, and they know how to run the business, and they know how to run the factories. So it has been quite hard to make them step out of their day jobs. And somebody else said it, the business is busy with their day jobs to kind of gain that data literacy, etc. But Mars does have 5 principles, and one of them is efficiency and one of them is responsibility. So if I have found that if you talk to the business in their terminology, saying from a responsibility point of view, we're here to serve the customer better, and data can help you serve our customers better. So very user-centric, putting the customer at the center. And then from efficiency point of view, we talk a lot about like how data can be automated, how decisions can be automated, how you can, spend your time on the value add tasks versus the potentially like more labor intense tasks, which could be done in Excel. If you bring that into the conversation, I feel the business is a lot more receptive. But it's always, it's always a struggle. And when new people join the company, obviously you have to have that conversation from the beginning. So I feel I'm repeating myself like 5 times. But it gets there. It's baby steps, but slowly I am seeing that step change. And obviously we have I've mentioned this before, but Mars does have a powered by data in our strategy. So we do have that senior leadership buy-in. So we're kind of doing a top-down, bottom-up approach, and we're slowly moving the needle, but we're not where we need to be. I'm sure, there's still space to be done, but it's slow progress, yeah.
Almost made it without being on mute and talking. Amazing, Inez. Thank you so much. Now, we've had a really brilliant question come in from Jean. Thank you so much for sending this in, Jean. So what should the approach be to encourage usability within the board? So going on there, Jean says that essentially externally getting that buy-in to be data-driven and using that data is sometimes easier than internally. I don't think it's going to show the whole question to you guys. Basically saying that those with historical tendencies to lead with the gut rather than the data, and you're kind of battling that as well. So Morgan, I wonder if you could kick us off with an answer there for Jean around getting that internal stakeholder buy-in to using the data you're providing on a silver platter to them.
Well, it's actually a really interesting challenge because it comes down to the culture of the organization. And as you talk about who your internal stakeholders, your executive leadership team, I always think of them, are they Excel or are they Tableau? Do they want to see pictures that are driven by data to help them visualize what you're actually trying to convey? Or are they looking for hardcore numbers and they're going to crunch them? They're finance guys and they want to see the numbers in the Excel. So those two approaches have very different, I guess I would say, middle steps. The initial step, you build out your data and you have data-driven decisions. You need to have the right data. You need to know where it is and make sure that it's aligned. But then how you present it to those stakeholders is aligned with your culture. So either in your number guides with Excel, or you've got to have a visualization so they can really picture it, because data is a I would say almost obscure thing for most people, and data literacy is actually very low across most executive teams. So I think that that's really something you just have to understand your audience and connect with them directly.
I love that, and I know there was a mention in the panel earlier about kind of simplifying things down, and I think that's such a great way. Is it Tableau or Excel? Which are you wanting here? And then obviously further going from that, other solutions are available for sure, in a sense of understanding that board, and that takes time, right? Of really understanding what they want and when and how regularly as well. Nirali, how about yourself when it comes to that internal versus external?
I was thinking about this because the organisation I work for is quite historical but very metric driven. So I think if you're thinking about how do we move about, or how I've done that in moving them to use the insight that we've provided versus just the numbers and the sort of the gut feel that they have, it has been speaking in their language. It has been sort of taking what Morgan's saying, what Ines has been saying, so understanding the business language, understanding their key pain point. Pick 2 or 3 examples of where potentially data has been used and you can back up their previous decision makings to gain that trust and that confidence, and then sort of lead them through that journey. Is that this is your business process, this is what the data does alongside it, and help them understand in their language of how things work. So in my field, it's about how the engineers, connect to the broadband, and we use data to tell that story alongside the business process, because it's a whole different language. And just leaning on some, I think, Wendy, you said it earlier on, is this is not part of their DNA. So even though our strategy has, we want to be data driven, it's not part of their DNA. It's not part of their day job. How do you sort of bring it part and together in terms of a HR finance? So I often say, okay, we're just like HR, or we're just like finance, or we're like one of these regular part and parcel support functions to help you make the right decision. The decision's yours though. So the data may show you to go X, but you can choose Y. But just read it, and that's where I sort of started off, is just saying, decision's completely yours, but this is just so FYI, this is what the data's saying.
I like that. Really, really interesting. And I think what's so fun is we can often go down data usability as a title for this discussion is such a wide one, but it doesn't shock me that we've ended up talking kind of the cultural and people aspects, right? Because I think, as we were saying right at the start of this conversation, the technology piece and how we do that in terms of the dashboards is kind of there. We understand that piece. But as you say, Nirali, I think you've summarized that so well. It's actually the cultural thing of giving that accountability and power, and then not being kind of this data coming in and telling you how it's done. It's a case of, here's just another variable to consider alongside all the other things that you're taking into account. Amazing. Now we are running swiftly out of time, so I'll try and get a few more thoughts in here before we have to finish up for today. Minna, what would you like to add to this discussion?
Great points and examples. Maybe one thing to add that I'm also currently working a lot is to introduce the common language, or the language of data, to the business and the board. So really helping them to understand what is data, so that they are then able to see the data in their daily environment, and then helping them to understand the basic language, basic terminology, what comes to analytics and what comes to AI, machine learning, so that it becomes like more familiar for them, and then it's then easier for them also to be open for using data and using analytics more.
Amazing, brilliant. The only hard thing about doing this live is so many flashing things in front of me. So we've just had another comment coming in. Nirali singing your praises there, saying that they liked the way that you were talking about speaking in their language. Absolutely fantastic. And I think we've only just hit the top of the iceberg here of things that I was gonna have a bit of a chit chat about. But we've got 2 more minutes, and Laz has just quickly sent in a question that I've not even read yet. Would effective change management is not crucial in pushing adoption with a well-articulated marketing campaign to spread the word? Marketing is something that increasingly I have seen data leaders really take on board in their own function. Does anyone have any experience / thoughts on this before we close? I want to make sure I'm prioritizing. Who wants to have a chat about this?
I'm happy to give it a go.
We'll go Kulani, then Nirali.
Okay.
So where we are in terms of us in the business is because we've appointed data champions. These become our culture shifters, and they become the ones that speak about data in all the forms that they get to find themselves in. So find individuals that become the amplifier, because sometimes we might do bad and people are just fatigued about seeing emails. So finding the people that will talk data in order to also then help drive maturing the data culture.
Thank you, Kulani. Yes, amplifiers, they are useful. Nirali, over to you.
So really quickly, we put in some data business partners. So the key stakeholders have a data business partner who is able to then understand their strategy, speak their language, but also market and create branded reports and branded sort of insights and stuff. So everything the stakeholders get is all branded with our data brand. And we've literally just treated it like we're selling a product on a shelf, if that makes sense. But they are ex-sales and ex-marketing people, because it's not a natural skill in my back pocket.
Yeah, and I think that is something culturally that the data function has had to go through in this, and links into so many conversations that we've all had together, right, around the storytelling, around the as you say, the selling of data. We're now into that phase. We've got the foundations, a lot of us in our organizations, to have that story, but now we need to go out and spread the word of it. Amazing. Half an hour is always a really tricky time to have in this short discussion, but I do love how concise we end up being. So brilliant. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And just like that, that does wrap up our September discussion. Thank you to all of those who got involved in the comments. It's wonderful to see you do so. Make sure you are following the Business of Data page, and make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter as well, where we send out weekly bulletins of our content and events and everything that's going on here at Corinium. But thank you once again for joining us, and we will be back in October for another edition. And until then, stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
Are you wanting to meet with other senior executives in the data and analytics space? In an environment that is created for connection and inspiration? Then why not join one of our in-person conferences? We have events all over the world, and you can find out the ones closest to you by visiting coriniumintelligence.com/events.